morning. So the 2008 Mumbai bombings were a series of terrorist attacks that took place in November 2008. They were executed by an extremist Islamist terrorist organization called Lashkar-e-Taiba based in Pakistan. These attacks lasted over 4 days and hit 12 destinations, killing 175 people and injuring over 300 people. These attacks happened during the 2008 financial crisis, and the combination of the attacks and the pre-existing financial crisis was the reason the Indian economy took such a big hit in 2008. This case falls under the global political challenge security. This is because these attacks affect the security and stability of India, and acts of terrorism are issues engaged directly with security. The data that exists on this case is from national sources such as the government and other people's needs agencies such as the Mumbai Mirror and Zee News. This means that the data that exists on this case is quite legitimate. However, the numerical statistics are all estimates. The key stakeholders of this case are the Indian government, Pakistani government, the public, the victims and their families, and Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is also the main actor in this case. Some regional implications of these bombings are there is tension between India and Pakistan. During the time of the attacks, the Pakistani foreign minister was in India negotiating the land of Kashmir. But these attacks placed a strain on the already rocky relationship between India and Pakistan, and on a local level of analysis, these bombings hit 12 destinations in Mumbai, out of which some were historically iconic, like the Taj Hotel and the Trident Oberoi Hotel, which cost $38 million and $45 million to restore respectively. These attacks also increased the anti-Muslim riots in Mumbai and got BJP, a Hindu party, elected. But the 2008 Mumbai bombings are not the only attacks by Islamic terrorist organizations in the world. These bombings are frequently compared to the 9/11 New York attacks. The aftermath of the 9/11 attacks were big scale and had a massive impact on the US economy, compared to the Mumbai bombings, which only temporarily harmed the economy. Like the 9/11 attacks, the Mumbai bombings were carried out by extremist Islamist terrorist organizations. The main aim of the attack was to get media coverage. With both US and India being democratic countries and the public having freedom of speech, the terrorists got the media coverage and attention they were looking for. But unlike the 9/11 attacks, these attacks caused more harm politically than socially or economically. 26/11 attacks shattered the last opportunity of peace with Pakistan. And as I mentioned before, the foreign minister of Pakistan was visiting India during that time to negotiate. The negotiations focused on Kashmir, as both countries wanted to end their long-lasting territorial dispute. However, after these attacks, all talks of peace were thrown out the window, and this is due to Pakistan's lack of legal action against the Mumbai attack organizers. This attack also intensified the anti-Muslim and anti-Pakistan hate in India, which led to riots and the Muslim minority in India facing major discrimination. Additionally, the already existing border crisis was becoming a bigger problem as the 10 terrorists entered India, hijacking a fishing boat through Kashmir. This intensified the security dilemma, which occurred because the international system is characterized by anarchy. In this case, realists would believe that because of anarchy and the security dilemma, conflict is inevitable. This would justify the past 3 wars between India and Pakistan and the ongoing fight between the countries. However, liberals would argue that India could protect its national interest and overcome the security dilemma through peace and cooperation, which is what both countries wanted previous to the attacks. Furthermore, the 2008 Mumbai bombings fall under the global political challenge security. Security is quite complex and links to various concepts such as sovereignty, interstate conflict, activities of non-state actors, and arms proliferation. Sovereignty is the freedom from external controls. So the Mumbai attacks challenged the sovereignty of India because it questioned India's ability to protect its citizens against violence. So it also constitutes a challenge to the nature of India and international law. The attacks also questioned the existing counter-terrorism regime in India and showed that national legislation and jurisdiction were not sufficient to deal with this issue. So to remain a sovereign state, India had to face consequences and adopt new counter-terrorism laws. These attacks also intensified the long-lasting interstate conflict happening between India and Pakistan. And as I mentioned before, these attacks removed all talks of peace off the table between India and Pakistan. The activities of the non-state actors, Lashkar-e-Taiba, affected both countries negatively. Furthermore, arms proliferation, which is the uncontrolled accumulation and spread of weapons, directly links to the global political challenge security. Kasab was the only surviving gunman of the 2008 attacks. He revealed that the weapons were kept in safe houses in Mumbai long before the attack. The boat team were also equipped with AK-47 rifles, pistols, bullets, and hand grenades. This highlights the arms proliferation problem in India and brings up the question, how did the terrorists even get the weapons? Now let's look at the situation through Pakistan's point of view. Pakistan claimed that they had nothing to do with the terrorist attacks and that the government doesn't support terrorism. But even if the Pakistani government had nothing to do with the attacks, they still allowed for weapons to be distributed within the country, which was allowing for the means to get into the hands of the terrorists. Key suspect David Headley, a Pakistani American militant, revealed that the ISI, which is the intelligence agency of Pakistan, supported the bombings and even claimed that two of the attacks were partially funded by the ISI. However, Headley also claims that the supervision of the militants by the ISI was often chaotic and that the most senior officers of the agency may have been unaware of the operation before it was launched. But this is no excuse. It makes it very hard to believe Pakistan's claims that they had nothing to do with this attack, and Pakistan not taking any legal action against the organizers just makes the situation worse. Not only did the attacks socially and politically affect the state, it also had a huge economic impact. There was a 56% fall in the main Bombay Stock Exchange. This is because the UK is one of the top 3 investors in Indian stocks, and it pulled out $13.5 billion out of Indian stocks. This caused the Bombay stock market to take a big hit and caused the value of the Indian rupee to depreciate. Additionally, during this time, the world was going through a financial crisis because of the fall of the Lehman Brothers. So the fall of the Indian stock market affected the economy heavily, even if it was temporary. So, in conclusion, the 2008 Mumbai bombings case is a manifestation of the global political challenge security. It has had social, economic, and political impacts on regional, national, and local levels of analysis. The case also intensified the conflict between India and Pakistan and caused the Indian stocks market to take a huge blow. It made the Indian rupee value depreciate and caused the widespread of anti-Muslim anger in India. This case is significant because, much like the 9/11 bombings, these attacks brought to light issues such as arms proliferation and showed the country's need to adopt new counter-terrorism laws. They also worried the security dilemma that already existing border crisis and territorial fight for Kashmir between India and Pakistan. The bombings questioned India's sense of sovereignty and the activities of the non-state actors. This raises the question of motivation behind the terrorism in India. Thank you.